Hi everyone, I'm Ty Thornton, member at Bodark United Methodist Church. I'm also a licensed professional counselor. I shared a video a couple weeks ago about the COVID-19 pandemic and a lot of us struggling with compassion fatigue and dealing with just all of the events that are going on. And so this week I wanted to share another video, and I'm outside recording this today because it's so beautiful out, but it's also windy, so you're probably going to get a few times of seeing me like get my hair out of my face, so just prepare for that. So this week I wanted to focus on something that it seems like across the board, whether you're a parent or a young person, if you're a client that actually goes to therapy like the clients that I deal with, if you're working, not working, it doesn't seem to matter. Across the board, again, it seems like most of the world is struggling with anxiety due to the COVID-19 pandemic. There's so many uncertainties, so many things we just don't know, so many things to be fearful of and worried about. And so while it's understandable that we all might be worried, I want to kind of speak to the anxiety part of that. So first of all, we kind of have to look at what anxiety is. And with that, we go back to worry. And the idea of worry is that it's not necessarily a bad thing. Too much worry, that's when we get into anxiety. But, we all need to worry a certain amount about things in life, right? Like we need to worry about getting our bills paid. They're not going to pay themselves. We need to probably worry about our children's education and who they're friends with. We need to worry about all the different relationships that we have in our lives. Those things we need to be concerned about so that way we can take action. However, if we spend too much time, too much energy, too much effort thinking and worry about these things, then it becomes kind of unhealthy, and that's what gets into the realm of anxiety. So one of the ways that we can help ourselves not be so anxious about everything going on with the pandemic is that we place limits on ourselves in lots of different ways. But one of the main ways that I think is really helpful is to place some limits on how much exposure we're having to the information coming in. We're all different in the amount of news and different things that we want to listen to or read or be informed about. And by no means am I saying put your head in the sand, don't worry about it at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I think, again, there's a good, healthy balance in where we need to set some limits. If you're listening to, reading about, talking about this virus 24/7, then you're probably going to be anxious. You're going to feel uneasy. It's going to be hard to let go of that. So by kind of placing some limits on yourself and realizing, if maybe some news at the beginning of the day, kind of get my information there for however long feels appropriate for you. But to do that maybe, again, once a day, twice a day, whatever feels best for you, but to limit it, to not be checking and talking about it and obsessing on it throughout the day, to place some limits on that. And speaking about limits too, also just kind of placing some limits and boundaries on your time, your emotions. I know that it's hard right now because we're not getting a lot of time and space away from the people that we live with, and that is hard. I think I'm struggling the most with that. Like I'm telling you, I love my family. I love my kids. I love my husband, and my husband is kind of still out working some or, just away, but it's pretty much me and 3 kids, like a lot. I mean, a lot. Again, I love them, but I'm used to having at least some amount of time away, except for sleeping hours that, where I can kind of just have that space to breathe and not necessarily feel like I'm so needed. And for them too, to not feel like they have to constantly need me, that there's maybe other people in their life, like their grandmas or their aunts and uncles and cousins and different people that take care of them, that they're not getting that care from. It's healthy for all of us to have a little bit of space. Into teachers, I forgot them, sorry, and their teachers, like that's who they, it's been so long I forgot I'm their teacher. Anyway, back on topic. So limiting how much time that you're spending together, like that's hard right now too, because we don't have a lot of options about what we can go and do, but we need to try to be creative, and we need to make sure that we're taking, this kind of goes back to last video, some time for ourselves, giving each other some space. If you're the parent that normally, does bath time, let the other parent be the caretaker of that, or even just we're going to go outside and play, you take some time in the house, or vice versa, just wherever you can, but allowing yourself to kind of get some space, to have some emotional kind of rest, to not feel that need. And also something that will help with that is just sharing with others, getting some support. I know that's really helped me a lot, is having Reverend Kim and good friends Leah and Kelly that I have too, talking to my mom, just being able to say like, oh, I'm struggling, like what are you doing, how are you doing, how are you handling this? Just kind of knowing that other people are having a difficult time with it too can be really reassuring. So again, kind of placing limits where you can. Another thing that will help with anxiety, I think, anytime, not just during this pandemic, is to plan the best that you can. I have so many people, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And again, they're valid questions. Yeah, what if some of these things happen? Are some of them very likely? Probably not, maybe not. But the things that do seem likely, or and things that we can plan for, make a plan, because having that control, knowing if this bad things happen, if a parent gets sick and needs to be taken care of, how are we going to do that? If this certain thing goes wrong or goes bad, what's our plan for this? Making a plan with yourself, with your spouse, whoever you need to make these plans with, can give us a certain amount of control, because this is the really tough thing. And a reason why a lot of people worry is because they feel like then it somehow gives them control. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but worrying does not give you any more control than not worrying does. The only thing that's within our control is ourselves. I can only control me. What I think, what I do, what I feel, what I say. I can only control me, and you can only control you, what you think, what you do, what you say. So worrying about all these scenarios is not going to make them not happen. And I know that's, again, tough to hear for a lot of people, but it also can be kind of freeing to know that, like, oh, I can recognize this is in my control, how I'm interacting with my kids, the things that I'm saying to my husband, the ways I'm choosing to cope with life, how much prayer time I'm having. All of that are things that are within my control. How long the shutdown, quarantine, all that's beyond my control. So sitting and worrying about it is not going to be healthy and helpful for me. Making a plan, okay, if this goes on this long, this is the plan. This is what we can do. This is what's within and out of my control. So again, having a plan. Saying no, which I know seems interesting, novel idea, but I've noticed myself during this time taking on maybe more than I should. So those of you that I've been calling or texting to check in on at church, that's why you haven't heard from me this week, is because I needed it was one of the things that I needed kind of to put off my plate for this week, as I was just feeling more and more overwhelmed and getting to that place of like, oh, I can feel myself kind of burning out and struggling. So what can I do now to keep that from happening? So saying no when you can, whether it's to your kids or to maybe possible extra responsibilities at work, or different things that maybe somebody asked you to do, is just saying no. If there's certain things like a recipe exchange, sorry, Sarah, that, just feels like, oh, that's just more than I can take on right now. It's say no. It's okay. We all have things right now that are just too much, and it's okay to say no and set those limits and boundaries for yourself, so that way you're not even more stressed out and even more anxious. So the last thing that I kind of wanted to share about was just the attitude or act of practicing gratitude. Right now, it's so easy to identify what's hard and what's going wrong. And I'll tell you right now, homeschooling is hard. It's not necessarily my thing, and not so much because I don't feel like I know kindergarten or second grade reading or math or any of those things. It's just I'm also trying to do 10,000 other things. And it's hard when you're at home to get in that space of let's do schoolwork. And it's not easy for any of us, and some days are better than others. And I keep hearing that from a lot of people, is that some days are okay, some days are good, and some days are really hard. But just being able to take stock of and acknowledge what's going well. And I can say personally, one thing that's going really well for me is that my kids are happy. Like, they just don't seem to be really affected by all this. Like, they know and get, like, oh, we can't see grandma and grandpa and all our family, or we can't go play with our friends. They understand that. We can't be, hugging people if we maybe see they stop by and they're at the end of the driveway. They get that, but they're still not fearful, and they're still happy despite not getting to see their teachers and their friends and family and all these different things, and getting to go places and do some of the fun things that we might have had planned. It would be easy to sit around and kind of focus on all the things that suck. It would be easy to do that. I don't know that it would be very beneficial. I think it's important to grieve some of the tough stuff that's going on, some of the losses that we have, especially for, seniors who aren't getting graduations and last end of the year things, or even younger kids, or whatever it is. Lots of people's vacations are getting canceled, and my kids, I know, probably aren't having baseball season this summer. There's some trips that we wanted to take that probably aren't going to happen. So that stuff stinks, and it's sad, and it's okay to acknowledge that, but maybe not to sit and wallow in it. And so going back to the idea of gratitude is that we focus on all the things that are going good, that if we are healthy, that we have that if we still have jobs and can pay our bills, that's awesome. If we don't struggle for food or for whatever, everyone's different. Technology, I know a lot of people are really grateful for technology because it helps them connect with the people around me. I'm getting a little technology kind of burnt out because I spend so much time talking to clients, usually on the phone or on video. So that's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but I'm still trying to be thankful for it, and it is a good way to be able to connect with people. So, but to be grateful is just to acknowledge all the things that we have. Today I'm very grateful and thankful for the warmer weather, that we can be outside and see the sunshine and hear the birds chirping and the wind blowing and all these things. And so I'll just encourage you to maybe focus on that. Thank you, bird. That to have a mind and a heart of gratitude, and focus on what's going well and right in your life, because my guess is there's a lot of things that you have to be grateful for. And so that's all I have for today, and I'll see you next time. Stay well.